Peter, you have a condition called non-obstructive azoospermia. It means your body doesn't produce sperm.
Our marriage secrets. Gloria and Peter walked into the hospital holding hands. They came for a normal checkup, just like other couples do before marriage. Blood tests, genotype, HIV, and fertility. After the nurse collected their samples, she smiled and said,
"You two can come back next week for your results."
Glory smiled back. Peter held her hand as they walked out of the hospital. He squeezed it gently and said,
"Next time we come here, it will be to carry our baby."
Glory laughed.
"Twins,"
she said.
"A boy and a girl."
Neither of them knew what was coming. A week passed. They returned to the hospital. The doctor welcomed them and asked them to sit. He looked at Glory's file first and nodded.
"Everything is perfect, Glory. You are healthy and your results are very good."
She smiled. Peter smiled too. Then the doctor picked up Peter's file and his expression changed. He looked at Peter for a long second. Then he said,
Peter, you have a condition called non-obstructive azoospermia. It means your body doesn't produce sperm.
Naturally, you cannot get a woman pregnant.
Peter blinked. Glory froze. The air suddenly felt heavier. The doctor kept talking.
There are options: IVF, donor sperm, even surgery in some cases. But without medical help, natural conception isn't possible.
Peter looked down. His voice came out quietly.
Are you saying I'll never be a father?
The doctor paused, then answered gently.
Not through natural means.
Glory couldn't speak. Her heart was beating fast, but her face was calm. They left the hospital in silence. That evening, Peter sat at the edge of his bed, staring at the floor. Glory sat beside him. He didn't look at her.
You don't have to stay,
he said softly.
You deserve a man who can give you children.
Glory turned to him slowly.
"I didn't fall in love with your sperm count, Peter. I fell in love with you."
Peter looked at her, eyes wet, but the tears didn't fall. He just nodded. That night, Glory made a decision. She would marry him, not because she pitied him, but because she loved him deeply. She didn't tell her family, not her mother, not her sisters, and not her friends. She knew what they would say. They would scream. They would say she was crazy. They would say she was wasting her life, but her mind was made up. The wedding came quickly. Peter's family came quietly. They already knew because Peter told them. Glory's family came with drums and dancing. They had no idea. Her mother held her hands the night before and said,
"You are lucky, Glory. A good man is not easy to find."
Glory smiled, but her chest felt tight. The ceremony was small and sweet. When Peter slipped the ring on her finger, he whispered,
"Thank you for staying."
She smiled through the veil.
"We will be okay,"
she said, but a part of her already knew love was not going to be enough. A few months into the marriage, the questions started popping out. When are we hearing good news? You people are taking too long, go. Are you sure everything is okay? Glory would smile and say,
"God's time is the best."
Then she would go to the bedroom, lock the door, and cry quietly. One evening, Peter came home from work and dropped a flyer on the table.
"Let's leave,"
he said.
"Let's start over somewhere new."
Glory looked at the paper. It was a brochure for Austria.
"Far from everyone,"
Peter said.
"No pressure, no noise."
She agreed. They began their visa process, filled the forms, gathered documents, went for interviews, and waited. Weeks passed, then months. Then one evening, Peter opened his email, gasped, and called her from the kitchen.
"Babe, we got it, the visas."
Glory dropped the spoon in her hand and screamed with joy. They hugged in the middle of their small kitchen, laughing like children. When the day came, they boarded the plane with hope in their eyes. Hope for peace, hope for freedom. Hope that maybe, just maybe, love could finally win. But what Glory didn't know was the real storm was waiting for her in Austria. Austria welcomed them with cold wind and quiet streets. Glory and Peter stepped off the plane holding hands. Their breaths turned white in the air. Everything felt new. The buildings, the language, the silence. They were far from home now, Far from family, far from questions. It was just the two of them and their secrets. They moved into a small one-bedroom apartment on the edge of the city. Nothing fancy, just clean walls, a squeaky bed, and a kettle that took too long to boil, but it was theirs. At first, life felt peaceful. They would walk to the store together, sit by the window on weekends, drinking hot tea and dreaming out loud. Glory got a job quickly at a care home. The pay wasn't much, but she didn't mind. Peter later found work with a cleaning company. He cleaned offices at night and sometimes came home tired and quiet. Still, they were grateful. Sometimes they would sit in the dark and talk about the future.
One day we will buy our own house,
Peter said.
And plant flowers in front.
Glory added. They believed those things. They believed love could carry them anywhere. But time began to test them. Back in Nigeria, the pressure had not gone away. Glory's phone buzzed almost every weekend. Her mother would call with her usual cheerful voice.
Glory, how are you? We are praying for you, but don't keep us waiting too long. We want to hear good news.
And Glory would smile and say,
Don't worry, Mama. God will do it.
But once the call ended, she would sit quietly for a long time, sometimes staring at nothing, sometimes fighting back tears. She hadn't told them, not even now, not even after marriage. No one in her family knew what Peter was carrying or what she was carrying for him, and the weight was growing heavier. One evening, while scrolling through her phone, she saw a name she hadn't seen in a while. Chisom, her old friend from university. Chisom now lived in Canada. They hadn't spoken in almost a year. Glory smiled and tapped the call button. Chisom picked up immediately.
Ha! Is this not Mrs. Peter? I saw your wedding photos. You look like a queen.
Glory laughed genuinely this time. They spoke for nearly 2 hours. Laughed, talked about old classmates, shared memories, but near the end of the call, Chisom's voice softened.
How's married life, Glory? Are you happy?
And without meaning to, Glory's voice cracked. There was a long pause, then she whispered.
He can't have children, Chisom. He's infertile. I knew before the wedding. I still married him, but now...
Her voice broke again.
Now I am tired.
Chisom was quiet, then she spoke gently.
You are strong, Glory. But even the strength has limits. You need someone to talk to. You need to stop hiding.
Glory wiped her face.
I don't want to shame him or disappoint my family.
You are not the shame.
Chisom said.
You are the one carrying the pain, and it's okay to speak.
That call stayed with Glory long after the screen went dark. Weeks passed, then one day something shifted. It was payday. Glory came home from work and placed her envelope on the table. Peter was already sitting there watching TV. He picked it up without a word. She looked at him.
Can we save some this time?
She asked.
I've been reading about IVF. Maybe we can try.
Peter cut her off.
You are talking too much. Just leave the money for me. I am the man of this house.
His voice was sharp, cold. It stung her. She didn't argue, but something inside her began to shrink. As the months passed, Peter became harder. He would question where she was going, who she spoke to, why she came home late, even when she didn't. He started locking his phone and checking hers. He stopped holding her at night, stopped laughing with her, and stopped dreaming. Sometimes, when she spoke, he would shout. Sometimes, he would throw things. Glory didn't tell anyone. When Chisom asked her how things were going, she would say,
We are managing.
But she wasn't. She was drowning. Still, she kept believing. She saved up enough and booked her first IVF appointment. The needles were painful. The pills made her dizzy, but she went through every step. She followed all the doctor's advice, took every injection, prayed every night. Then she waited, but the results came back negative. The procedure had failed. She sat alone in the doctor's office. The nurse handed her tissues, but Glory didn't cry. She just whispered,
God, how long?
She walked home that night in silence. Peter didn't ask how it went. He didn't hug her. He didn't say sorry. He just looked at her and said,
So we wasted all that money for nothing.
Glory turned away. That night, for the first time, she locked the bedroom door and slept with the lights on. Glory didn't recognize herself anymore. She had come to Austria with dreams of a quiet life, of love, of peace, but what she found was something else. Her marriage was now a house of rules about where she could go, rules about what she could wear, rules about who she could speak to. And the man who once adored her was now the one draining her slowly. She tried again, another round of IVF, more injections, more hormones, more prayers whispered into her pillow at night. This time she didn't even tell Peter when the doctor called. She took the news alone.
I am sorry.
The voice on the phone said.
It didn't work.
Glory didn't respond. She just sat in the bedroom, staring at the wall, until her tea went cold on the table. That evening, Peter came home late. She had made okra soup, warmed it twice. When he finally walked in, he didn't greet her. He dropped his bag, looked at the food and frowned.
So this is what you cooked?
He snapped.
What have you been doing since morning?
Glory stood quietly. Her voice was tired.
I went to the clinic.
She said.
I had another IVF round. It failed again.
Peter scoffed.
So we are still here. Same place, no child, no results.
I am trying.
She whispered.
Try harder.
He hissed.
Or go back to Nigeria if it's too much.
Then he walked past her and slammed the door to the bedroom. That night she sat in the kitchen in the dark. Her hands shook, not from fear but from exhaustion. Emotionally, physically, mentally, she had nothing left. The next morning, her phone vibrated. It was a message from Chisom. Just 2 words, call me. Glory stepped outside into the cold air and died. Chisom picked up immediately. Glory, talk to me. What's going on? And for the first time, Glory let it all out. She told her everything. The shouting, the silence, the cold stairs, the slammed doors, the failed IVFs, the bruises that didn't show on her skin but were all over her soul. Chisom listened. Then, she said something that stayed with her. You can love someone and still live. You don't have to stay in pain to prove you are loyal.
But what will my family say?
Glory whispered. They will be mad. They will cry. They will judge. But Glory, they won't be the ones to live with him. You will. Glory wiped her face.
I feel like I've wasted 5 years.
Then don't waste 5 more. That night, Glory slept on the floor beside the bed. Not because there wasn't space, but because she didn't want to be touched. And for the first time, Peter didn't even ask why. One morning, after a long silent breakfast, Glory stood at the window, holding her phone. She died her mother. Her hands were shaking. It rang once, then twice. Then Mama picked up, her voice full of joy. My daughter, I was just thinking of you. Glory tried to speak, but her voice cracked.
Mama.
Mama paused. What is it, Glory? Talk to me. And then it came out. The whole truth. Bit by bit, word by word, her secrets spilled across the line. She told her everything. Peter's condition, the failed IVFs, the anger, the shouting, the control. The night she cried into her pillow. She kept talking until her voice gave out. Then there was silence. Long, heavy silence. And then Mama spoke, her voice firm and broken. Why didn't you tell us, Glory? Why would you suffer like this alone?
Because I chose him, Mama. I didn't want to make him look bad. I thought it would get better.
5 years, Glory. You were carrying this for 5 years.
I didn't want to shame him or disappoint you.
You are my daughter. You are not shame. He is the shame for hurting the woman who stood by him.
That night, her father called. Her elder brother too. One by one, her family surrounded her with anger, tears and love. They didn't waste time with lectures. They told her to leave.
Pack your bags.
Her father said.
Divorce is not death. You will not die in a man's house. Come home.
Her brother said.
You are not weak. You were just quiet.
Glory sat in the corner of the room as the phone dropped to the floor. Her chest hurt. Her face was wet. But for the first time, the tears didn't come from fear. They came from relief. The next week, she spoke to a lawyer. It was harder than she imagined. Signing those divorce papers felt like burying a version of herself. A version that had believed too much, endured too long, loved too deeply, but she signed it anyway. Peter didn't beg. He didn't even ask her to stay. He didn't even look surprised. He just said,
You can go if you want.
So she did. Glory left the keys on the table, packed her clothes into one suitcase and walked out. 5 years of pain gone in one step. Glory didn't fly back to Nigeria. She stayed back in Austria. Not because she had nowhere to go, but because she needed to find herself where she lost herself. Austria was no longer the place where her marriage died. It was now the place where she would learn to breathe again. The first few weeks were quiet. She moved into a shared apartment with 2 other Nigerian women, older, kind and curious. They asked no questions but gave her space. At night she cried, but not like before. Now the tears were washing something away. She got a better job in a small care center just outside the city. The patients were kind, the manager was patient, the work was hard but it gave her purpose. One Saturday, Glory walked into a small immigrant fellowship, not far from her apartment. The hall was warm, filled with singing and broken accents. People from Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, Cameroon, all clinging to God in a foreign land. She sat in the back row quietly, but as they began to sing a song she knew from childhood, her chest tightened and the tears came. She wasn't sure if it was worship or grief, but something inside her cracked open. She didn't wipe her face, she let it flow. After the service, someone tapped her shoulder. He was tall, with soft eyes and quiet energy.
Hi,
He said.
first time here?
She nodded.
Welcome,
He smiled.
I am Michael.
That was the first time someone had looked at her, not with pity, not with judgment, but with kindness. She didn't smile, but she remembered his name. Weeks passed, Michael didn't push. He greeted her after every service, sometimes asked if she needed a ride. Other times, he did offer her an extra meal from his lunchbox. He never asked personal questions. He just showed up, and Glory slowly started to trust again. One evening, after midweek prayers, they walked together toward the bus stop. Michael turned to her and said,
You don't talk much, but you look like someone who has survived a storm.
She stopped walking.
I was married.
She said quietly.
I left because I had to.
Michael nodded. No questions, no shock, just understanding.
Then I am proud of you.
He said.
Most people stay and drown, but you swam.
That night, she smiled on her way home. A real smile. They became friends, shared small meals, talked about books, talked about faith, talked about pain, but gently. He never touched her without permission. He never raised his voice. He never made her feel small. And eventually, he asked her a simple question.
If you ever decide to try again, would you give love another chance?
She said nothing at first. Then quietly she replied,
Maybe.
And that maybe was the first seed of something new. 1 year later, they stood in front of a courthouse. Simple outfits, no noise, no crowd. Michael took her hands and said,
This time I will protect your heart like it's mine.
And this time, Glory believed it. They got married, no announcements, no pressure, and no expectations, just peace. Then, 3 months later, Glory started waking up feeling dizzy. Her back ached. She lost her appetite. At first, she thought it was stress. Then one afternoon, she took a test. It was positive. She stood in the bedroom holding the small white stick in her hands. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She whispered one word.
Jesus.
She waited 5 years through pain, through silence, through shame. Now in her second marriage, with no IVF, with no planning, she was pregnant. Now Glory was different. She smiled again freely. She laughed without guilt. Her steps were slower, softer and lighter. She was married now to a man who loved her gently without needing to control her. Michael had become her friend, her partner and her peace. Their home was full of quiet warmth. A bookshelf in the living room, fresh flowers by the window, laughter in the kitchen. And Glory was glowing. She was 6 months pregnant. The miracle no one expected, not even her. No injections, no appointments, just God answering when the time was right. Then, one Sunday afternoon, as she walked through an open-air market, she heard her name,
Glory!
She turned slowly, and there he was, Peter. Older, slimmer, eyes heavier. He looked shocked, maybe a little ashamed.
I thought that was you.
He said quietly. She didn't speak at first. She looked at him. The man who once held her hand like it was treasure now looked like a stranger.
How are you?
He asked.
Well, I am fine.
She answered simply. Then his eyes dropped to her belly. His face froze.
You are pregnant?
She placed a hand gently over her bump.
Yes, I am.
He swallowed hard.
So, you remarried?
Yes,
Peter looked down.
You look happy.
I am.
She said finally. There was silence between them, the kind of silence that says more than words. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something, maybe to explain, maybe to apologize, maybe to ask for something that was no longer his. But Glory stopped him gently.
Peter, I don't hate you. I don't wish you pain, but I've healed. I've moved on, and I am not going back.
He nodded slowly.
I just wanted to see you. I heard you were still here.
I was never hiding.
She replied.
I was healing.
She smiled softly and peacefully. Then she turned and walked away. Peter watched her go. The wind lifted the edge of her dress. She didn't look back. That night, Glory lay beside Michael, his hand resting on her belly. She whispered.
I saw Peter today.
Michael turned to her calm.
Are you okay?
I am more than okay.
She smiled.
I am free.
He kissed her forehead. Outside, the wind blew softly. Inside, their child kicked gently. And in that quiet moment, Glory knew the pain was behind her. The lesson was inside her, and her true life had just begun. The moral of the story is that love is beautiful, but it should never come at the cost of your peace, your voice, or your words. Choosing yourself after pain isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Healing is possible, and when you let go of what breaks you, life can still surprise you with joy. Hello fam, thank you for watching through to the end of this video. Please consider subscribing to our channel if you are yet to do that. Like and share this video, and until we meet on our next story. Bye.